Hello, I'm Dr. Russell Dawn, President of Concordia University Chicago. Thank you for tuning in to today's Cougar Athletics broadcast. We take great pride in the strength of both our athletic and academic programs, which are rooted in our steadfast commitment to Jesus Christ. Dedicated to the liberal arts as a foundation of a high-quality college degree, we believe education should form individuals for service to their neighbors. This makes Concordia Chicago an exciting and fulfilling place to study, work, learn, and grow. Learn more today by visiting cuchicago.edu. Thank you, and go Cougars!
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Cougar Sports Network as we gear up for another men's volleyball contest. I'm Kayla McLeod on the call with you, joined today by the infamous Eric Perry on the Cougar Sports Network as we're getting ready for another men's volleyball game. Cougars' last outing back in this gymnasium on Thursday, where they ultimately fell to another Michigan school in Calvin College. But it was a hard-fought game, Eric. It was a close match across the boards. Cougars losing it by just a couple of points in each set. So they're coming off of a loss, but it was a hard-fought loss with a lot of energy and effort leading into it.
Yeah, definitely. You look at the final score, which is 3-0, but that doesn't tell the whole story. They fought till the bitter end of each and every set. And it was just Calvin that managed to pull away in the last few points of every set and to pull out the win. So, yeah, Concordia hoping to snap a two-game losing skid, and so is Adrian with a two-game losing streak of their own.
Yeah, Adrian last game fell to North Central College, another 3-0 loss for them. But, again, seeing some close numbers for them in that set, so both teams kind of chasing some wins here, looking to get things going early. As we get set, it looks as though Adrian is going to be serving first. And indeed, it is going to be the Bulldogs with the first serve of the day. Jarek Muliagatelli serving for the Bulldogs. As this one is up and received by Hollebeck. Mosher back to Hollebeck, and that's an easy kill for Tyler Hollebeck, something that we are very familiar with inside this gym.
Oh, yeah, Concordia's got some great killers. They got Hollebeck, they got Ford, they got Hoffman, they got Stella. They have a lot of weapons that can really do some damage.
Tyler Hollebeck, a graduate student here for CUC, as that one finds its way in the back of the court for a service ace from Jackson Stella. Cougars actually having some trouble getting some aces so far this season, only averaging 0.7 aces per set on the year. So some low numbers from the squad. So starting off the game early with an ace is a great start for the CUC squad. And yet another Tyler Hollebeck kill to get things going.
Concordia's been on fire to start. You got Hollebeck with the two beautiful kills, and then J.R. Stella with a perfect service ace. They're hoping to keep that trend going.
Absolutely. Riding some momentum here early on in the game is going to be a key for the CUC squad. Sometimes we've seen this season struggling to come back from a deficit, but Stella sends that one just barely out the back, was looking for another ace, but just a little bit too much power on that one.
Yeah, he was really going to just barely clip that back line. Unfortunately, just had a little bit too much heat on it. Wasn't able to find the line.
So the Bulldogs secure their first point, and Zach Molnar now serving for the Bulldogs as this one is up for Gadzowski. Kept in by Molnar. Little back and forth at the net, but Cougars here with a swing from Hoffman, and that one finds its way down. Marcin Hoffman.
Cougars off to a great start in this set here. As we mentioned, their last three really close matches. Getting early points, getting a quick lead here can really give you the momentum to pull away and win when it comes to end of the sets.
Gadzowski sends that one in, and it's received by Fieldhouse, who sends that one straight back at Mosher. And the Bulldogs are starting their climb back. Cougars up 4-2 here early in set one.
And Mosher was able to make contact with that last shot, but wasn't able to direct it away from the fans.
Webster serving there for the Bulldogs as Hollebeck swings from the opposite side. This one's up for Molnar. Sends it back, and it's going to be tipped off the hands of Michael Cardenas and make this a 1-point game.
Just a quick 2-point swing like that. Looked like Cougars might be slowly starting to pull away. Adrian's right back in it.
Hoffman with the reception here, and a big swing from Ford, kept alive by Webster. Molnar sends it back over. Mosher has it up for Hoffman. Hoffman is going to be blocked there by Sam Landers. And we've got a tie game here early in the first.
was a great play, great series of plays by Adrian to keep that ball alive, and then when Concordia got it back, it was just blocked at the line for an Adrian point.
Sam Landers with that block, second on the team in blocks, so not surprising to see him getting up there at the net as he takes a swing here. Gato with the dig. Cougars settling things down a little bit, sends it back over to Hollaback with a mighty swing. Tyler Hollaback showing his athleticism on that one, finding a gap in the back corner. Send momentum back towards the Cougars as he gets this one up for a serve. Landers has that one blocked by Marcin Hoffman, and Alexander Ford with a quick answer to their previous kill being blocked. Cougars are answering with force.
The Cougars team is a very dangerous set of blockers that can send it right back at you.
Absolutely, as they look to do it again, but this one is able to get over the hands of Ford. Hoffman with the swing and gets that one to fall. I mean, this Cougar squad, you look at their talent at the net. You've got freshman Alexander Ford, 20 total blocks on the season. 23 total blocks on the season, trailing one behind Leon Godzowski with 24. So a really strong front line for this Cougar squad.
Yeah, when you got a pair like that can just hold the line and keep the other team's front at bay, you are good to go.
Landers now serving for the Bulldogs. 7-5 here in set one. Hoffman with the reception. Mosher back to Hoffman. Able to be kept alive there by Macklin. Ford with the mighty swing and gets it to fall on the back line. Alexander Ford.
Alexander Ford and Corey, they've really been picking on number 4 for Adrian Zach Moore. That's the second or third shot that they've just sent right back at him, and he has not been able to make any contact with the ball.
A good strategy here from the Cougars, being able to pinpoint early where they're going to be placing some of these swings. See, we saw some of it in the game against Calvin where they were just having some trouble dictating where they were going to put the ball. And being able to see that kind of shift here in just a short amount of time is a huge adjustment for this young CUC squad.
Yeah, like you said, sometimes against Calvin the accuracy wasn't quite there, but they seem to have, as of right now, fixed that for this match.
Fieldhouse serving that one up for the Bulldogs. Kept alive there from the Cougars as Ford takes a swing at that one. Fieldhouse sent it straight back over, but have an answer. Molnar. Hoffman keeping it alive. A swing here from Stella. Has it blocked at the front line, but the Cougars are keeping it alive off of the light fixture. Hoffman sends it over. And here's a swing from Carson Bell to get the point for the Bulldogs.
Cougars did a great job of keeping that one alive off the net, off the light fixture, but unfortunately that allowed Adrian to just square up a perfect shot.
A little bit of chaos back and forth, and being able to control is a huge factor in being able to find that accuracy that we were just talking about. Ford with the light touch on this one. Had the Bulldogs frazzled for a little bit and unable to get it over the net on the back row swing was Fieldhouse. So Cougars taking some momentum.
Yeah, Fieldhouse just tried to get that one up in desperation. Unfortunately for him, it bounced right off the pole.
Ford now serving for the Cougars. Hits off the top of the net, but received by Landers. The big swing from Molnar is ultimately blocked by Godzowski, but out of bounds, so it's going to be a point for the Bulldogs.
It's a great block by Godzowski to make sure that I didn't get past the line, but unfortunately for him, he was not able to keep it in bounds.
We already touched on Leon Godzowski being a big man at the net for the Cougar squad, so not surprising to see him getting up and in there as that one is served straight out of bounds and hands things back over to the Cougars for Mosher to be serving. 10-8 here in the first set. Received by Macklin. Tipped over, kept alive by Molnar. Hollaback with the swing. Has it blocked, but it's going to hit off of the out-of-bounds antenna, so point for CUC.
Adrian tried to trick him a little bit with the tap instead of the power hit, but CUC was able to quickly gather themselves and send it right back.
As this one is up for Landers. Hollaback taking a step back to answer. Molnar having his try, and he's able to get that one to fall. Finding some space here on the near side of the court. Catching Van Gato a little bit slow to get to that ball, and ultimately sending possession back over to the Bulldogs.
Yeah, Gato was able to make contact there, but wasn't any kind of meaningful contact.
Mosher up for Stella. Big swing, and he's get that one to fall straight down. J.R. Stella with some power behind that one.
J.R. Stella is a big factor of this Cougars offense. Leads the team in kills. First one of the night so far, but still, CUC is hanging on to a 3-point lead.
Absolutely, and Stella's been a force for the CUC squad since last year coming in as a freshman, as that one is blocked by Gudzovsky and Hollaback. A force to be reckoned with at the net. The second block on the day so far for this Cougar squad.
Gudzovsky and especially Hollaback have just been everywhere at the start of this match, just sending the ball straight back at Adrian's face when they think they got a good shot.
This one is into the net, taking an unfortunate bounce off of Hollaback on that as well, but ultimately sending things back over for the Bulldogs. Zach Molnar now serving.
Adrian trying to cut this 3-point CUC lead down to 2.
This one is up. Cardenas with the reception. Mosher keeps it alive. A big swing from Gudzovsky. Poked alive here, and soft hit over from Landers. Hollaback with the monster swing, and absolutely no response. Libero Macklin was there trying to get it, but ultimately just caught him off balance, and it's going to force a Bulldogs timeout.
Hollaback's really liking that far sideline. That's his second or third shot that he just sent a rocket launcher right back at Roland Macklin there, and it has worked so far as the Cougars got a 4-point lead. Absolutely.
You know, we were talking a little bit earlier about that accuracy, and the Cougars doing a really good job of finding those spots and seeing which direction that the defense is going to be moving and going the opposite way. You saw Macklin get a little bit off balance as he was headed one direction, and then Hollaback's kill went in a complete different direction and had no real answer for it. So the Cougars really capitalizing on that shift, and we've seen it work here early in this set.
Oh, we definitely have, yeah. Concordia's been able to eye and tell what Adrian's going to do next and able to adjust their plans accordingly.
Just looking at the hitting percentages so far on the day, here in set 1, Concordia hitting just over 30%. Meanwhile, Adrian hitting just over 12%. So we're seeing a little bit of a difference there, and some of these big swings from the Cougars is proving to consistently work, and it's going to put Gudzovsky in a good spot here as he serves one up for the Cougars. This one is up and into the net for Gudzovsky.
Wasn't able to get any real height on that hit, so now we got Adrian trying to cut this lead back down to 2.
Nathan Webster serving here for the Bulldogs. Hoffman with the reception up for Hollaback, and it's going to bounce off of the net and antenna. Keep things in favor of the Bulldogs.
Just when it seems like the Cougars are getting ready to pull away, the Bulldogs have been able to score 1 or 2 or 3 points to keep it a relatively close first set.
Absolutely. I mean, in that Calvin game that the Cougars last played, we saw a lot of back and forth points, nobody really going on some consecutive runs. So seeing that change here in this game has been an impact. It's how the Cougars have gone on to lead as much as they have, and how the Bulldogs have stayed in it is capitalizing on a series of runs rather than exchanging points.
Yeah, Cougars jumped out to a quick lead, but then since then Adrian has been able to answer them for the most part and keep it at a 3-point game.
Hollaback sends that one over, received by Landers, and a big swing there from Carson Bell.
Carson Bell, 6'6", didn't even really have to jump for that one. Just had to reach up and slam it down on the ground past the Cougar front line.
Landers now to serve for the Bulldogs. Hoffman with the reception. Mosher able to keep it alive. And Hoffman sends that one into the net and makes this a 1-point game here. Bulldogs starting to sneak back into this.
Yeah, Hoffman had a good jump on that one. Unfortunately, just didn't time it right, didn't get the correct height, and sent it right back into the net as Adrian's got a chance to tie it.
Hoffman, Mosher, Ford. Kept alive here by Landers. Big swing from Fieldhouse. Cardenas, Mosher, over to Hoffman, who sends that one out of bounds and ties things up and is going to force Coach Greg Manos to take a timeout. So while they take a quick break, we're going to take a short one as well here on the Cougar Sports Network. But don't go anywhere because we've got a tie ball game in set one. Back here on the Cougar Sports Network, we are all tied up at 15 apiece. Cougars had a good, hearty lead, and the Bulldogs have fought their way back into this set.
Yeah, at one point, this was a 14-10 Cougar lead. Bulldogs gone on a 5-1 run since then.
And Hoffman is going to get called for being in the net and give the Bulldogs their first lead of the day.
Make that a 6-1 run for the Bulldogs to give themselves the lead.
Hollebeck, Mosher back to Hollebeck, and has that one blocked by the duo of Carson Bell and Beck Fieldhouse to completely shift momentum here inside Geisman. You genuinely feel an energy shift from where the Cougars were at about 5 points ago to where they're at now. As Cardenas receives this one, Mosher over to Hoffman. Has that one attempted to be blocked, but tipped out of bounds. So Cougars able to get a point up on the board and hopefully make a shift back for them.
Yeah, and what's been killing the Cougars recently has been the errors. They had 3 straight errors by Marcin Hoffman that gave Adrian the lead, and now they got a point here of their own. Maybe they can settle down and refocus and not have any more unforced errors.
As this one is kept alive, a little bit of a tough reception. A hard swing, though. Hollebeck kept it alive, pops it up, and sends it over, but a huge stuff there from Carson Bell. Caught the Cougars off guard and steals that momentum right back.
Yeah, the Cougars were not expecting Bell to just send that back. They were expecting him to tip it up for someone else to hit, but nope. He just gave him a return to sender that no one could get a clean shot on.
Absolutely. That's going to give Fieldhouse the serve here. Gato with the reception. Mosher over to Hollebeck, and they're going to give Adrian the point on yet another Cougar error. In these last few points, we've seen some errors really hurting the Cougars.
Yeah, at one point they were only at 5 errors. Now they're at 9 errors, just giving Adrian the game almost.
Alexander Ford with a swing in that back corner to be able to put a point up on the board and hopefully make that shift back.
Yeah, sometimes all you need is 1 point to just kind of get yourself settled down and get back on track. And that's what the Cougars are hoping for here.
Absolutely. Ford drops that one into the back row, kept alive. The swing here for Molnar. Continuation. And the swing now for Baza is good. Officials, quick conversation about potential for anybody being in the net, but ultimately just a good swing there.
Yeah, there was nothing Hollaback could do but watch it go past him as it was a little bit out of his reach.
Bell with the serve now. Stella with the swing, but a huge block and a reverse block there from Mosher. A little back and forth at the net. Had it kind of popped up, and the Bulldogs thought that they were going to be able to get the swing there, and instead Mosher came in hot with it.
Yeah, Mosher's not usually a block guy. He's more of an assist guy, but hey, you got to do what you got to do to get points.
Exactly. This one is up for Webster, and good for Webster. And is going to make this a 21-18 lead in favor of Adrian.
Yeah, Gato lunged for it, got an arm on it. Unfortunately, just went right into the little desk thing we got going down there. And Adrian only 4 points away from winning this set.
Absolutely, as that one is in the net for Muliaga Datel. And Stella now to serve.
Haven't said Stella's name a whole lot. He's only got 1 kill, which is a little bit rare for him. Usually he is the main Cougar presence, but they're still alive in this first set.
That one finds its way into the back row. Kept alive there, and a straight rocket down from Webster. Nothing the Cougars could do to answer that one.
Webster just sent that as a rocket right back at him. Cougars didn't have time to move, let alone try to get a hit off.
Absolutely. Molnar now serving with 22 for the Bulldogs. A rocket to the back row with a touch from Cardenas. That is going to go out of bounds and force yet another timeout from Coach Manos, their last of the set.
This has just been a straight Adrian run recently. Again, at one point, this was a 14-10 game. Since then, Adrian's gone on a 13-4 run to put themselves 2 points away from going up 1-0.
It was, you guys talked about it on the broadcast for the last men's volleyball game against Calvin, that it's a really young team for this CUC squad, and a lot of times you can see some of the inexperience and some of the just the younger guy kind of stuff coming out. And I think in a time like this where we see the energy shift, we kind of see that, you know, early on in the game when things were going well, the team was very, very upbeat, very talkative. They were loud, they were encouraging, and as Adrian has kind of pulled away from that, you're seeing some of those behaviors slip a little bit. And I think coming from a younger squad, it's easy to get defeated when a team goes on runs like this, and I think a big key for this CUC team is going to be shifting that energy back.
Yeah, Coach Manos just got to tell them, listen, you're still in this. They haven't won yet. All you need is 6 straight points, and you've won this set. You just got to ground yourself and lock in and get focused, because there is still a chance that CUC can come back and win this set.
Absolutely. I mean, volleyball, we talked about it a little bit. It's a game of runs. You can have somebody go on an easy 6-0 run. It's very possible, and shift that energy back, but being able to stay calm in that matter is going to be key. As Hoffman receives that one, and the swing from him himself is a soft one, kept alive here. Over for Hollaback at the net. A great ball that was kept alive there by Macklin, but unfortunately Bulldogs just couldn't get it back over. But a really good reception and effort there from the libero for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, and then Muglia Gatelli, he ran over to try to save it. He was able to hit it, but didn't have enough power in the over-the-head swing to get it over the net.
Absolutely. So a 23-20 game. Gadzowski to serve for CUC. Gets this one over the net, and a service ace for Gadzowski after a tough touch there from Macklin. Looked like he initially was going to go for it and then realized that it might be going out of bounds and just couldn't get his hands out of the way in time and gave that point to CUC. Gazowski drops that one into the net, and the Bulldogs now sitting with set points.
Yeah, the Cougars here, they need to score 4 straight points just to force a little bit of extra volleyball in set number 1.
As this one sneaks onto the sideline, Hollebeck floats one over. The big swing from Molnar, and it's going to drop in the back row between Mosher and Cardenas, and the Bulldogs are going to take set 1 here.
Great comeback from Adrian. They got down early, but then they were able to regroup and just go on a big run to give themselves the first set W. And as they switch sides, hoping that they continue the winning going on this side of the court.
Absolutely. Well, while these teams take a quick break, we're going to take one as well. So we've got about 2.5 minutes before set 2, and the Cougars are looking to make a comeback. Don't go anywhere here on the Cougar Sports Network. Back here on the Cougar Sports Network for set number 2. The Adrian Bulldogs ran away with set 1 after the Cougars started out hot. So looking to shift momentum for the Cougars as a lightweight touch there from Molnar just frazzles the Cougars, and the Bulldogs are keeping their hot streak alive.
Yeah, on that first point of the set here, I think it was Mosher that tipped it up, and you had 3 Cougars turn around and just all of them just watched it fall to the ground. So I got to fix a little bit of miscommunication here as the set gets going.
Absolutely. Something that the Cougars were fortunate enough to do in the first set was take an early lead and kind of lead with some energy. So falling behind even by as much as 1 point here early in the set, something that the Cougars can sometimes struggle with overcoming.
Yes, sometimes with this Cougars team, it's just like they go down, they just aren't able to mentally get out of their own way.
Absolutely, as a bit of a long rally here with some back and forth, and the ball's kept alive. And from the ground, Mosher tries to get it over, and a light swing there from Landers is going to be able to score for the Bulldogs. Almost kept alive by the Cougars. A little back and forth between Gato and Hollaback, but ultimately the Bulldogs take the 2-0 lead.
Yeah, that ball was just bouncing everywhere on that serve. Cougars made some good plays to keep it alive. Almost kept it alive the second time, but unfortunately we're not able to.
A hard serve there, and a harder swing from Hollaback. Goes looking for the block was Webster and Landers, but with such a powerful swing, that ball was a rocket off of their hands.
Yeah, that one was launched out of bounds. It wasn't even close to the line, and the Cougars got their first point of the set.
Stella sends that one over, and the swing there kept alive. As this one is up for Molnar and sent out of bounds by the Cougars, and gives the ball right back to the Bulldogs.
Hoffman and Gazowski went up for the block, unfortunately just bounced off their arms to the left, and giving Adrian once again a 2-point lead.
Zach Molnar to serve for the Bulldogs. Sends that one straight out of bounds. A little bit too much power on that one.
Yeah, the back line of the Cougars were very content to just watch that one fly past them almost to the end of the free throw line.
Gazowski now to serve for the Cougars. Drops that one into the shallow back row. Kept alive there in a swing from Fieldhouse. Mosher finds Hollaback with a rocket sent to the back row, and the Cougars score consecutively here.
And just like that, this game is tied. That was a beautiful shot by Hollaback. He just sent it right back at Mulia Gatelli, who was not able to corral it.
Gazowski serving once again, and is going to get the point off of an illegal motion from the Bulldogs. Bulldogs incredibly unhappy and confused on that one.
I don't think they did anything wrong, and they only had 5 errors in the first set, but got one early here in set number 2.
So Gazowski serves and sends that one into the net, and for the second time today, Tyler Hollaback has worn the netted serve.
Yeah, that's twice. It's just been right off the net, right into his face.
But nonetheless here, a serve from the Bulldogs kept alive by Hoffman, popped up for Mosher, and a free ball for the Bulldogs. A little bit of a collision from the Cougars, but able to get back into place here. Mosher sends this one up for Hollaback, and a block that Gato kept alive. Hollaback swinging again, sends this one into the nets, and that's going to be a point for the Bulldogs.
Hollaback had a good jump on that shot. Unfortunately for him, I think his hand was just angled downwards instead of upwards, and the ball went harmlessly into the net.
Webster now to serve for Adrian. Hollaback with yet another swing, kept alive there by Landers, and Webster tried to kick it and pop that thing back up, but unfortunately with such a powerful swing, that came off of Landers' hands a little hot and couldn't do much about it.
Yeah, Webster made a good attempt. Unfortunately for him, just did not stretch the leg long enough.
And a service ace for Hollaback gets this thing going in the right direction for the Cougars.
Yeah, Cougars back out to a 1-point lead here, hoping that they can keep getting the service aces, keep forcing some Bulldog errors to continue.
As that one falls shallow into the net, something that we're seeing quite a bit for this CUC team. Unable to get the serve to go over the nets and giving some free points to the Bulldogs.
And with a team that's been performing pretty well today like Adrian has, you can't afford to give them those free points.
Absolutely, as Hoffman takes a swing and kept alive by Landers, and Fieldhouse with the big swing. Cougars looking to combat it, finds Hollaback in motion and sends that one into the back row and off the fingertips of Molnar. Hollaback with he was a little bit off balance when he was looking to make that attempt, but fortunately able to pick a spot and send the ball there.
Yeah, I didn't have very firm foot placement, but hey, ended up working out, and he was able to get it right off the hands of the back line of Adrian and give CUC back the lead.
Absolutely. You know, we talked about it a little bit in the first set, the Cougars needing to be strategic in where they're putting that ball, and they did a really good job in the first half of the first set, and as they became a little bit more frazzled, and even in the early starts of this set, we've seen that kind of dissipate a little bit, so it's nice to see the senior leadership in Tyler Hollaback and re-centering them to hold those standards, and it's working in favor as another Cougar point.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It seems like they've gotten out of their heads now. They've calmed down a little bit. They're in the moment. They're like, okay, let's score some points. Let's tie this thing up 1-1.
Hoffman sends that one into the net and hands things right back over to the Bulldogs.
And service errors are something that CUC has struggled with so far. They've already got 8 in the first, 1 in a third set.
Yeah, this CUC team coming into today's game, 113 service errors. So something that is very consistent across the board, struggling to get that ball over the net. As Stella sends that one in, kept alive here, and unable to get his footing for a good swing there. A good block from the Bulldogs, kept alive. Hollaback from the back row, can't get that one to go. Looked like Fieldhouse on his attack kind of tripped himself up or something and couldn't get his footing correct to be able to get as powerful of a swing as he wanted. So fortunately for the Bulldogs, they were still able to secure the point despite some of that miscommunication there.
Yeah, Fieldhouse definitely wasn't set for that last shot, but in the end it worked out for Adrian as they got the point.
As a straight rocket from Fieldhouse gives the Bulldogs the lead back.
Again, a little bit of miscommunication there. Mosher stepped out of the way, and that forced Gato to try to make a diving lunge for it that unfortunately he could not pop up.
Fieldhouse with another rocket of a serve, popped up from Hollaback, and Mosher getting in on a little tack party there. Mosher now to forward with a little tip, kept alive there by the Bulldogs. Fantastic play from the libero. Cougars trying to answer with a soft shot of their own and a free ball sent over from the Bulldogs. Hollaback with a swing and a huge block from the Bulldogs, but into the net they go, and the Cougars take the points.
That was a fantastic fly there by both sides. Macklin for Adrian made a great play to keep it alive and keep the ball from hitting the ground. Concordia was able to send it back. Adrian answered, but in the end, Adrian was just into the net, and that allowed the Cougars to tie this one back up.
It's an unfortunate ending to a really, really good rally from the Bulldogs. Being able to kind of stay alive as it appears as though Macklin lost his gum on that rally, but really the Bulldogs stayed alive off of that intense effort there from their libero, and the Cougars were fortunate enough to be able to capitalize on an error, but Cougars answer with an error of their own and hand things right back to the Bulldogs.
That makes 9 service errors for the Cougars tonight. If they want to be able to pull away from Adrian, they have to slow down the errors and stop making less than good shots.
As a service error from Bell hands things back over to the Cougars. Seen a little bit of that exchange of points that I was talking about earlier. So something that you're really looking for in this immediate moment on either side is looking to go on a run and see who can score some consecutive points and really start to run away with this thing.
Yeah, at this point it's 10.
Good effort there from the Bulldogs, trying to keep that one alive and ducking under the net to do so.
It was a good effort, unfortunately. Did not end up working out. The Cougars got the lead, hoping to score a second consecutive point here to slowly pull away.
That was Andrew Grazik with the really good effort, but the Cougars are going to capitalize again on a bit of a Bulldog error. Hey, that's exactly what we were talking about, needing to score a couple consecutive points, so the Cougars fortunate to be able to do so, and they're putting some of that pressure right back on the Bulldogs here.
Yeah, they've been causing some Adrian errors and miscommunication. If they can just keep doing that, keep scoring points, they can win this one.
That ball popped up and kept alive by Stella. Stella now with the swing and has it blocked by the Bulldogs. A group of Bulldogs involved in that. Looked like it was Webster and Baza.
Stella sent a hard shot over the net. Unfortunately for him, the cluster of Bulldog players were right there to send it back at Gato. We didn't have time to react.
Absolutely. So the Bulldogs now looking to go on a run of their own. Mulia Gatelli with the serve. Back row to Hoffman. Mosher over to Hollebeck. A good reception from the Bulldogs and somehow kept that thing alive. Hoffman with the back row swing. And they're going to say that it was tipped by the Bulldogs, and the point goes to CUC.
Adrian's done a great job of there being situations when it looks like the ball's going to hit the floor, but being able to turn around and keep it up. Unfortunately for that one, it didn't work out for them as the shot was tipped.
As that one is ill-received from Fieldhouse, and the Cougars pick up another service ace, and they're going to force a Bulldog timeout after going on a couple consecutive runs. So while they take a short break, we're going to take one too here on the Cougar Sports Network. Back here on the Cougar Sports Network, Kayla McLeod joined by Eric Perry as we are in the heart of set two. The Cougars on top of the Bulldogs 14-11 right now, but it has been a back and forth set so far.
Yeah, Cougars maybe hold on to a 3-point lead, but it is still very much either team set to win.
As this one is a swing from Molnar off the noggin of the Cougars and out of bounds. Going to hand the point to the Bulldogs, and Molnar will now serve.
We saw something similar to this around this point in the first set. The Cougars had a little bit of a lead, but then Adrian was to come back and tie it up. So Cougars hoping to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself in set number two.
Absolutely. A bit of a run is the last thing the Cougars are looking for from the Bulldogs. So trying to combat that, as that one is into the net, I believe. And the Bulldogs will only trail by one here. Like you said, Eric, it's feeling a little bit like some deja vu happening, as a very similar situation we were seeing in the first set. Cougars doing everything they can to combat it, but the tale of the errors, I believe, is going to be the difference maker in set two.
Oh, 100%. The Cougars need to lock down and not make errant hits or service errors. They need to keep the ball in play and give themselves opportunities and not give the Bulldogs free points.
As Macklin receives that one in a back row off-balance swing from Fieldhouse, unable to get over the net. So the Cougars keeping possession, and Godzowski is going to serve once again for CUC.
That was like a little bit of miscommunication there. I think Macklin didn't decide to get it until right at the end, and that kind of caused some miscommunication.
As Godzowski sends that one out of bounds. Godzowski having some trouble finding the middle ground, either sending it into the net or sending it a little bit too far. We've seen that a couple times today from him, so Cougars looking to combat that with a huge monster swing from Tyler Hollaback. If you need a burst of energy, put the ball in Tyler Hollaback's hands, and he will give you a reason to be energized.
Oh, yeah, he has been everywhere for Concordia. He's got 11 kills, most on the team, and he's just been a house of fire for them so far.
Absolutely, as this one is up, and a retaliation swing from Carson Bell, showing that he can do the exact same thing for the Bulldogs. And momentum is really up in the air. No team really kind of stealing and running away with things. It's little bursts here and there, and Landers serving this one up as Mosher has the nice little dump over the net and secures the points.
The Bulldogs were not ready for Mosher to just tap it over. They were expecting him to dig it and set it up for someone else to hit. Instead, he just swiped it right over the net, and no Bulldog player was in reach and able to hit it.
Hoffman now serving for the Cougars. Drops that one into the net. And that's going to put the ball into the hands of Fieldhouse to serve for the Bulldogs.
Still only a 2-point game as we are approaching the latter third of this set.
That one is received in the back row. Up for Stella. Stella with a soft touch. Macklin gets this one up. Molnar with the swing. Hollaback receives it well. Back to Hollaback. A big swing, and unfortunately a bit too much power, but it's going to be saved by an error from the Bulldogs. Baza, I believe, was in the net, so fortunately Hollaback got bailed out on that one, and the Cougars are approaching the 20-point mark here.
Yeah, Hollaback just sent that one in like a missile that was too strong, but as you said, the error gave the Cougars the point anyway.
A big swing there from Baza to make up for the error, and the Bulldogs take the points.
Adrian keeping this thing within reach. They're not allowing the Cougars to pull away by more than 3, keeping themselves in this set and giving themselves the opportunity to go up 2-0.
Carson Bell here to serve for the Bulldogs. This one is up and into the net. Plagued by errors as the Cougars break the 20-point mark here in set 2. Eli Mosher to serve.
Yeah, when you get to the end chunk here, you can't afford to have just unforced service errors like that. You need to keep the ball in play and over the net.
Absolutely. Macklin with that one, and a swing there from Webster. Catches Gato off guard. Thought that it was going to be a bit more powerful than it was. I think he braced for a hard swing, and instead a soft tip there kind of threw him for a loop a little bit, and unable to receive that well, which gave the Bulldogs the point.
Yeah, Gator was not expecting that shot to be not as intense as he was planning, and as a result, his own shot went right out of bounds.
Yeah, and, forcing another timeout here late in the stretch. Again, Cougars have the 2-point lead, and, being the first team to touch 20 is always promising because, it's a frazzling number. You look at it and, know that you're only 5 points away from winning the set, but the Bulldogs are only trailing by 2. So, realistically, a series of runs changes this set, and the Bulldogs already with 1 set win on the day, looking to keep that going a bit.
And what the Cougars need to do here is be focused and not get lost in the fact that Adrian's keeping this thing close. They need to focus on just closing out this set and tying it up 1-1. They need to not psych themselves out, essentially.
Absolutely. And, you mentioned it, the key in these final few points that we're going to see in this set is those errors. Being able to get your serves over the net is going to be huge on both sides as both teams are struggling a little bit with it. But being able to limit those errors is going to be a key.
Yeah, as you said, both teams are struggling with service errors. Concordia's got 11. Adrian has only 6, but a lot of them have come in this late part of the second set, and it's allowed the Cougars to hold on to a 2-point lead.
Absolutely. As we're going to see the Bulldogs serving, Mulia Gatelli serving for Adrian, trying to get themselves back into this set. Received from Hoffman. Sent over to Stella with a big swing and no response from Fieldhouse. So the Cougars riding some of that momentum, and J.R. Stella is now going to serve for CUC.
Stella hoping to replicate the success he had with that kill and translate that into a good serve here.
As this one is up and a rocket to the back row. Mulia Gatelli sets that one up for Landers. Landers with a soft touch. Hollaback with a big swing, looking for that opposite corner. Saw some space, but a little bit too much power. He was looking to see if it might have gotten tipped, but officials say no, and the point goes to the Bulldogs.
Yeah, Hollaback had the open look, unfortunately for him, and just a little too much heat behind it, and gave Adrian possession back.
Molnar here to serve. Sends that one deep out of the back of the court, and a point for CUC.
It's like you said, those service errors are really going to kill you, and now the Cougs only 3 points away from making it 1-1.
As we're going to see a new server for CUC, and Ayaz Arif able to keep that one in, and a swing from Molnar kept alive by the Cougars. Mosher, the swing from Hollaback, finds the back row and some space.
Molnar and Macklin had a gap there in the back row, and CUC was all too happy to exploit that and put themselves just 2 points away from victory in set number 2.
Absolutely, and that's going to force an Adrian timeout. So while these two teams take a quick break, we're going to take one as well, but don't go anywhere. We've got a nail biter on our hands here on the Cougar Sports Network. Back here on the Cougar Sports Network, Cougars on top 23-19. Momentum is definitely in favor of CUC after a huge swing from Hollaback, and the Bulldogs have to answer. Arif keeps that one alive. Hoffman with the subtle tip. Bulldogs fighting here. Sends that one over to Landers, and a huge big-time block from Ford and Hoffman, and the Cougars are feeling the energy inside Geisman.
Ford and Hoffman just had a dynamite block there, helped by a great save by Arif to keep the ball alive.
Arif sends that one in once again. The swing here from Fieldhouse is able to find the floor on the Cougar side. So set point will have to wait a little bit longer as Gadzowski comes back in for Arif. And Webster is now serving for the Bulldogs.
Adrian,
but we're going to see a timeout. So interesting for Coach Manos to use a timeout here, giving the Bulldogs some time to reassess and settle. Momentum definitely still on the Cougar side. Some high energy efforts inside Geisman.
Yeah, Cougars had the first great point out of the Adrian timeout. Then Adrian scored a point, but it definitely felt like the Cougars still had the flow and the momentum on their side. So interesting choice to call a timeout, but maybe it'll end up working out. Cougars just 1 point away from winning set 2.
On the flip side, it is still very possible for Adrian here to go on a run. We saw them go on a big run in the first set that ultimately gave them the first set victory. So, you know, Cougars sitting at 24, but only a 4-point deficit for this Bulldog squad, which is not an impossible feat.
Yeah, this Adrian team is definitely capable of scoring at least 4 points to tie it back up, but even then scoring 6 straight points to win it.
Absolutely. So out of the timeout, we are going to see Webster serving for the Bulldogs, looking to keep their efforts alive here in set 2. 1 point for the Cougars will tie the game overall. As this one is up, Hoffman, Mosher, over to Hollaback with a soft touch, and he's able to get that one to fall. The Cougars take set 2 with the energy on their side. You could hear the CUC bench chanting CUC on each touch. So being able to capitalize on that energy and finalize it on their own terms, and the Cougars tie things up at 1 apiece.
Yeah, you could definitely tell that in set number 1, they were a little kind of frazzled by Adrian, but they were able to get their heads back in first set number 2 and pull out the 25-20 win. And 1-1. Now we just got to see which team can win 2 out of 4.
Absolutely. So while the teams take a quick break, we're going to take one too, but in under 2.5 minutes, we're going to have some set 3 action as we've got a good one inside Geisman Gymnasium. Don't go anywhere here on the Cougar Sports Network. Back here on the Cougar Sports Network, set 3, getting ready to get going. We've got a thriller inside Geisman. I'm Kayla McLeod, joined by Eric Perry, and the Bulldogs have the serve and send it into the net, so the Cougars take the first point of set 3.
And that's the first kind of point you want if you're the Cougars. You don't even have to move. You just got to watch it go straight into the net.
Cougars still riding some of that momentum from their set 2 victory, as Stella sends a rocket of a serve, and a little bit of miscommunication there from the Bulldogs, but kept alive. Guzowski pops it over for the Cougars. Landers with the swing. Mosher keeping it alive, and Hoffman sends that one out of bounds. Cougars looking for a touch on it, but ultimately just a little bit too much power to one side.
Yeah, Hoffman was trying to find that back left corner. Unfortunately, just put angle it a little bit too much to the left.
Molnar serving here for the Bulldogs. Bulldogs looking to minimize some of their service errors from the first set as they serve yet again into the net for the second consecutive serve. and hand things right back over to the Cougars.
Yeah, you don't want that if you're the Bulldogs. 2 serves, 2 service errors. That's not how you want your offense to get started.
Yeah, in the Bulldogs' set 1 victory, they only had 2 service errors, and in their set 2 loss, they had 7. So not super promising to see that start for the Bulldogs. Really struggling to get going early, but a swing there from Fieldhouse is going to shift some of that bad juju and give them a good point here.
Yeah, Fieldhouse said, hey, service errors aren't working out. I'll just send a missile back on a normal hit and tie this game up.
Webster to serve here for the Bulldogs. Hollaback with the swing, kept alive by the Cougars, and a free ball off the hands of Hoffman. And this one is a back row swing for Molnar. Hoffman finding some space. Webster receiving it, sending it back over. Hoffman looking to get it, and he's able to sneak it right into some space.
Great shot by Hoffman to just get it over the net and clip the edge of the line and give the Cougars, again, the early lead.
Cougars really finalizing their strategy here today, realizing that the more strategic they can be in their placement, the better. And we saw that from Hoffman there, finding some space and being really strategic in where he was putting that ball, but unfortunately an error here from the Cougars is going to give a free point to the Bulldogs.
And this second set and really the rest of the match tonight is going to come down to which team can avoid making the errors and which team can play clean volleyball.
Lander's serve is good, and Ford running across gets a huge swing, kind of bounced around a little bit from the Bulldogs, and Mulia Gatelli gets a hand on it, but pops it up underneath the net, so yeah, Cougars will receive that point.
Mulia Gatelli made a good play to try to keep it alive. Unfortunately, from where he was, he had no way to get it over the net.
Hoffman serves that one, and Mulia Gatelli with a little skip set action there and finds some space and stone cold face while doing it. He means business here.
He does. He wants his team to win set number 2 and go up 2-1 overall. Cougars were expecting a dig, and he just sent it right back over the net instead.
Fieldhouse to serve, sends that one to the back row. Mosher over to Stella, a big swing, kept alive by the Bulldogs, and this one's over for Molnar. A huge swing, and Hoffman could not keep it alive, and the Bulldogs are going to take that point. Some really good effort there from the Bulldogs.
That was a great play by the Cougars, by the Bulldogs there to keep the ball alive, keep it from hitting the ground, and just send it to where Hoffman had to run for it to try to make any kind of contact with it. Absolutely.
So Fieldhouse sends a rocket there on the serve. Cougars keep it alive and sends it right back. Molnar with a light swing. Stella to Mosher. Opposite side to Hollaback, and he's able to drop that one into the middle of the floor.
Landers and Fieldhouse both went for that one. Unfortunately, it was just out of the reaches of both of them, and Cougars, again, tied it up early.
Alexander Ford here serving for CUC. As that one finds its way into the back row. A tip there from Bell, but Cougars have some response as usual. A strong front line from the Cougars dominating here.
I think Bell was trying to surprise the Cougs that one with a light tap. Unfortunately for him, the Cougars were not surprised and just hit it into the wide open gap over the net.
Absolutely. This one up for Molnar. Kept alive by the Bulldogs off of the hands, an initial block from the Cougars, and that rocket of a shot was tipped by the front line from the Cougars, and some really good effort from Ford to try to keep it alive, but unfortunately unable to do so. Hands things back to the Bulldogs.
Ford jumped as high as he could on that one. Unfortunately, it was just about an inch above his fingertips.
Bell serving here for the Bulldogs. Sends that one to the back row. Gato kept it alive. One of the officials thought that it was going to tip the antenna, but the head official said it did not. It was right in front of her, and instead on the Bulldogs' retaliation swing, that would find the antenna, and the Cougars are going to get a point on that.
Yeah, the near side ref was shaking his head, and in response, the main ref just shook her head back.
As another skip set there from Mulia Gatelli. He is taking control. He said, we're having some problems getting that ball to find some space from our hitters. I'll do it myself.
And now going to do it himself even more as he's serving here, hoping to give Adrian the lead.
A tie game here at 7 apiece. Sends that one into the back row. The swing from Stella kept alive by Gato. Back to Stella once again. And able to find some space. The Bulldogs had some tips on it at the net, but the response after it changed directions from that hit, unable to find where that ball was actually heading. And another point here for the Cougars.
Yeah, Macklin was not able to anticipate where that ball would land, and the Cougars got the points.
A big swing there, and the Cougars with a monster block at the hands of Gadzowski and Hoffman.
Gadzowski and Hoffman living up to their team reputation as the two leading blockers, and the Cougars got a slight run now, got a 2-point lead going here in set 3.
Stella serving, sends that one to the back row. Landers with the soft swing. Back to Hollaback. Hollaback with a swing that's going to be in favor of the Cougars. Bulldogs were thinking, oh, excuse me, it is going to go to the Bulldogs. They're going to say there was no tip on that and that it just hit off of the nets. So Cougars questioning it a little bit. Tyler Hollaback having that discussion with the head official, seeing what is going on. That head official, Tara Dickerson, says, no, that hit net, and it is Bulldog ball.
Bulldogs looking to tie this game up here at 9 early, keep the game close, because that's where they ran into some issues in set 2. When the Cougars were able to slowly pull away, that's when Adrian wasn't able to get as much going.
A block there from the Bulldogs, but kept alive by the Cougars. Hollaback with another swing and a very similar spot. Another block for the Bulldogs, kept alive. Hoffman with the swing, but ultimately the hands of Webster and Landers making a brick wall at the net, and the Cougars cannot answer.
Hoffman went up for a powerful shot there, but unfortunately just was not able to lift it up over the net.
Molnar serving here for the Bulldogs, tied up at 9. Mosher to Gadzowski, a block, but kept alive by Cardenas. And a little back and forth action. The Bulldogs take it, and they're going to send that one out of bounds. Such a back and forth battle, and some really, really good receptions there from Michael Cardenas.
Yeah, Cardenas with a great effort to keep the ball in play and get it back to the Adrian side of the net, where after they hit it up around a little bit, their shot just went wide right.
Arif serving once again for the Cougars, sends that one to the back row. The swing from Molnar is going to find right on that back line and give the Bulldogs the point.
There was a slight gap between Cardenas and Arif there, and Molnar was just able to plant it right in between them.
Webster to serve for the Bulldogs. Hoffman, Mosher, back to Hoffman with a soft touch, kept alive, and the hit there from Bell. And a monster swing from Hollaback is going to be blocked at the net. And forcing a timeout from Coach Manos. The Bulldogs are fired up after Fieldhouse's block there, and the Cougars trailing here in set 3.
Yeah, that was just a great block by Fieldhouse. They went right onto the edge of the Cougar line and gave Adrian this lead, and Coach Manos said, all right, I've seen enough. I'm going to call timeout, try to get him centered again, make sure that Adrian isn't able to score a few more consecutive points and go on a run to increase their lead.
I mean, that style of play that the Cougars rely on is being able to keep their energy and momentum high. So a very good use of a timeout from Coach Manos to kind of recenter his team there a little bit. We saw it happen in the first set. The Cougars had a good lead. The Bulldogs worked their way back into it, and ultimately the Cougars couldn't find their groove again, and they struggled to get going, and that's what gave the Bulldogs the set 1 win. In set 2, we saw a different story. We saw the Cougars going back and forth and staying centered, staying grounded, keeping that energy high throughout the entire set, and it resulted in the Cougars stealing set 2. And so as we sit here in set 3 at around the midway point, a little bit less potentially, the back and forth battle is going to be really reliant on who can come away with that momentum at the end of the day.
Yeah, Cougars have to keep themselves on track. They're only down 11-10. There are still a lot of points to go in this game. It's not anywhere close to being over.
Absolutely. As Webster serves once again, Hollaback with the swing. Received there by Landers. Landers taking the swing himself. Mosher takes it. It's going to bounce off the wall and over, so that's going to be a dead ball and a point for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, you were able to count the wall as a player. It would have only been 2 hits and over, but unfortunately the slightly low-hanging wall there does not count as a human being.
Cardenas with the reception, and Ford finds some space, but it is kept alive there by Mulia Gatelli, but cannot keep it in. Mulia Gatelli is all over the floor for Adrian. He has been putting in the work, not only as the key setter, but he's been attacking. He's been getting some of those key receptions. So really just an overall all-around player for Adrian.
He's been a big part of keeping the ball alive and making sure that Adrian have opportunities to get points of their own. Absolutely.
A good reception there from CUC libero Van Gato, able to keep that ball alive, but a error from the Bulldogs will give the Cougars the point nonetheless. And the swing there from Fieldhouse doesn't find some lift on it, and the Cougars find themselves leading by 1 here.
Fieldhouse was trying to angle it past the line of Hollaback and the other CUC players, but unfortunately didn't get the right one.
Gato, Mosher to Ford for the monster swing. Alexander Ford, hello.
Ford just sent a rocket right back at the Bulldogs. They didn't have time to react to that as it went right where the 3-point line is for basketball.
Hollaback sends that one to the back row. A little bit of a stretch there from the Bulldogs, and Ford tips it right back over. Landers with the swing. Hollaback receives it well. Back to Hollaback. A big swing off the hands of the Bulldogs, and the point goes to CUC. And the Bulldogs take a timeout, unable to handle the energy of the Cougars. So while these two teams take a short break, we're going to take one too, but don't go anywhere. The Cougs are on a roll here on the Cougar Sports Network. The Cougars send that one into the net. So point here for the Bulldogs.
And Cougars have been pretty good in this third set about not having a whole lot of service errors, but have one right there fresh out of the Adrian timeout.
Landers to serve for Adrian. Hoffman, Mosher, back to Hoffman. Tips and finds some space, but Landers has an answer for it. Fieldhouse with a block by Mosher and Ford is fired up about that one, as he should be.
That was an incredible block by Ford, just right at the line. Cougars get possession back, maintain a 3-point lead, and just a beautiful block by Ford there.
That ball dropped essentially straight down off of the hands of Ford, and the Cougars really riding some momentum, but unfortunately Hoffman's serve a little too powerful and gives things back to the Bulldogs.
Just a little bit too strong, and now on the first 2 serves out of the Bulldog timeout, that's been 2 service errors for the Cougs.
Fieldhouse to serve for the Bulldogs. Sends this one up. Hollaback, Mosher, Ford with the light tip. Kept alive there by Bell. And a short little dump from Fieldhouse. Mosher, Stella tips it and finds some space. A great read from J.R. Stella to send that ball light and into space to secure the Cougar point and extend this lead even further.
Yeah, Stella just read the Bulldog formation perfectly there. Was able to just find the hole and tap it past the Bulldog front line.
As another service error for the Cougars is going to plague them yet again and hand things back to the Bulldogs.
And now makes 3 serves out of the timeout and 3 service errors. They want to hold on to their 2-point lead. They got to get focused and not keep giving Adrian free points.
Absolutely. Carson Bell here serving for the Bulldogs. Mosher over to Stella with a powerful swing to the back row. Kept alive and a soft tip. It's going to be continued here, and the swing for Baza. Mosher with a single dump, and he's able to find space off of the read. Really good efforts there from the Cougars. Little bit of a tough first touch from the Cougars, and Mosher was able to read that, and in his movement found space.
Yeah, it didn't look like Mosher was prepared for that ball to end up where it was, but he was able to improvise and just tap it right back over the net.
Absolutely. So another timeout here from the Bulldogs. Cougars, as you mentioned, struggling to get their serves over fresh out of the timeout, but the momentum has definitely still been on their side. They've been able to find this open gaps and put the ball there, and moving well as a team. And some of that team chemistry that we're seeing the Bulldogs struggle with a little bit right now.
Yeah, Bulldogs just haven't really been quite on the same page as the last few points. Meanwhile, the Cougars have been operating on exactly the same page. They've been able to get the ball to each other and create good opportunities and good shots, and were able to hold on to this 3-point lead in spite of their errors when it comes to serving.
So a little bit of a reset timeout for the Bulldogs. Trying to get things going here. And it's going to be Eli Mosher to serve for CUC. 18-15, a CUC lead here in set 3. As this one finds its way in. The swing from the Bulldogs kept alive by CUC. Gadzowski with a light little tap. This one is hit and finds some open space from Webster. A pretty wide open back row. Hoffman really the only one that was back there and just couldn't quite get there in time. So a well-placed hit from Webster.
There was a very large gap between Hoffman and Mosher, and Adrian was just able to place the ball perfectly and keep this game still pretty close.
Mulia Gatelli serving for the Bulldogs. And the swing from Gadzowski is tipped but kept alive there by Macklin. Landers with the hard swing, and he finds space in the back corner. And we've got a 1-point game here in set 3.
Those last 2 points, Bulldogs have just been targeting the gap between Hoffman and Mosher. And so CUC's really got to clamp down on that if they want to extend their lead by more than 1.
Gato with the reception off of that serve. Hollaback sends the tip. It's going to be blocked there by Landers, but just out of bounds, and Cougars take the points. JR Stella to serve for CUC now.
Yeah, Cougars able to make sure Adrian can't go on a run of more than 2 there, get the point for themselves.
As Cougars finally get a serve over the net here. The swing and continuation. Another swing from Guzovsky, but sends it too strong. Fieldhouse did a nice job of keeping that ball in when he could, and Cougars just unable to answer off of that.
Guzovsky saw the wide open back line there. Unfortunately, just put a little too much heat behind it and wasn't able to clip the line.
Molnar here for the Bulldogs, sends that one to the back row. Mosher over to Hollebeck. Tipped by the Bulldogs, and Macklin was coming in hot, but a little bit, looks like he might have potentially ran into Webster on the attempt to get there, but just an unfortunate touch there for the libero.
Yeah, it looked like Webster was kind of moving backwards and just didn't see Macklin coming.
As the swing from Fieldhouse is tipped, kept alive, and sent over by Ford. Ford doing a bit of a 360. Wasn't really expecting that ball to be popped up right where he was, and just able to find it and send it, but no real strategy, and sends it out of bounds.
Yeah, that was a fantastic play by Ford to just keep the ball in play, but unfortunately was not able to find the line.
Webster with that serve. Ford with a oddly timed jump, and psychs out the defense. Psyched me out a little bit as well, and ultimately found some space with it.
Yeah, it looked like on that shot by Ford, it looked like Fieldhouse thought Webster was going for it, and then at the last second pulled up, only to realize that he was the one that needed to go for it.
A block there from the Cougars continued off of a well-received ball, and the Bulldogs are going to answer with a tip and finding some space in that back corner. The Cougars leaving some really large gaps on the back row, and the Bulldogs have taken advantage of that. They're finding that space there, and they're placing those balls just far enough out of reach of the lone defender on the back line.
Yeah, the Cougs seem to decide that they're going to win this game at the front line, so they've just kind of left the back wide open, and Adrian's been exploiting that.
Hoffman with a huge swing, and he's able to drop that one.
Great play to build the Cougar lead back up to 2. Only 3 points away from going up 2-1. Just Cougs hoping they can just go on a final 3-0 run here to give themselves the lead overall.
Hoffman to serve. Macklin with the reception. A back row swing here from Fieldhouse, and he's able to find some space. And here come the Bulldogs.
Hoffman was able to make contact with that one, but unfortunately it just went straight off his arm into the student section.
Fieldhouse serving for the Bulldogs. Hollebeck. Mosher keeps it alive, and a huge monster swing from Alexander Ford. Fire me up.
I think the front line of Adrian thought that they were going to be prepared for a quick tip over. Instead, Mosher hit it up to Ford, who just sent a missile right back into the midst. And just a beautiful play by Ford to give possession back to the Cougars.
When Ford is hot, he is hot, and he's proven it here in set 3. As that ball is kept alive by Hoffman. Hollebeck now with a huge monster swing, and that one's going to fall into the back row, and the Cougars are on a roll.
Back to back, just rocket launchers by Cougar players. And they need one more point to go up 2-1.
Ford serving here 4 set points. Tips the top of the net, but kept alive by Macklin. The hit here for Baza, sent right back over by Mosher, and the Bulldogs cannot answer. Macklin gets a touch, and unfortunately Fieldhouse just couldn't get there. But the Cougars go up 2-1 after a close back-and-forth battle in set 3. We're really seeing this game of runs come to life here, and the Cougars are capitalizing on every opportunity. So while they take a quick break, we're going to take one too. We've got about 2.5 minutes until set 3 to see if the Cougars can secure it. Set 4 to see if the Cougars can secure it. We'll be right back on the Cougar Sports Network. Back here on the Cougar Sports Network, set 4 in this back and forth thriller. The Cougars up 2-1 after taking the last 2 sets consecutively over Adrian, but it really is anybody's game still.
No, the Cougars may be up 2-1, but it has not been easy for either team that's won any of the 3 sets. It has been a close, hard-fought series of sets, and again, the biggest win in a set has only been by 5. So again, all it takes is Adrian a few of those bounces to go their way, a few less errors, and they can very plausibly tie this up 2-2. On the other hand, it's definitely possible that the Cougars just keep the momentum for themselves and win it.
Mosher starts things off for CUC, and the attack there from Webster kept alive. Landers now sends that one over. Gato takes the first touch. Mosher, a short hit for Godzowski, kept alive by Macklin. Landers now with the swing. Another block kept alive here, sending it to the back row. Fieldhouse is able to get that one to go. Fall into some space on the Cougar side, but some really good efforts from the Bulldogs to stay alive in that one.
Yeah, Macklin had a great play to keep the ball up. Several other players were able to keep the ball alive, and then Fieldhouse was just able to get the ball to bounce off the side of the arm of Godzowski to score the first point of the set for the Bulldogs.
Bulldogs now with the serve, sends that one deep and back. One touch from Gato, sends it right back over. A soft touch from Webster. Mosher back over to Hollebeck now. Soft touch kept alive, but they're going to call Webster in the net for Adrian and give the Cougars the points.
It looked like that first hit from Hollebeck was a little bit lighter than he planned it to be, but luckily for the Cougs, there was the error by Adrian and ended up being CUC point.
Stella to serve, sends it back. Macklin with the first touch. Fieldhouse sends it into some space. Hollebeck at the net, falls down, a almost collision at the net, but keeps it alive. Hollebeck once again. Molnar gets this one to the Landers, and Landers finds some space and a little bit of miscommunication between the Cougars, and Hollebeck got just one hand on it and sent it out of play.
It looked like both Eli Mosher and J.R. Stella were getting ready to hit that one, and then Hollebeck just came over and hit it himself and sent it out of bounds.
As it looks like Webster is going to be serving for the Bulldogs. Hoffman, Mosher, back to Hoffman. Finding some space, but kept alive there from Molnar. Big swing from Fieldhouse is going to be tipped off the hands of Godzowski. And the Bulldogs are on a bit of a roll here.
Yeah, it jumped out to a quick 3-1 lead. They know that if the Cougars get going, that's when they're the most dangerous, when they got the momentum behind them. So they're scoring all they can to make sure that that doesn't happen, especially down the stretch.
Mosher sends this one back to Hollebeck. Hollebeck answers and finds space on that back corner. And like I said earlier, when you need things to get going, you look to your leadership, and your leadership is in Tyler Hollebeck.
Yeah, he's the oldest player out here. He's got the most experience, and that shot just was able to pierce the back corner.
The swing there from Bell, little bit too powerful. And Arif is going to be back at it, serving for CUC again.
And just like that, this is a tie game. This is a game of sets, or a game of runs here.
The swing from Landers off balance, kept alive by Mosher. Hollebeck steps back to take that one. Macklin. The swing here from Fieldhouse, blocked by Hollebeck and Ford. And the Cougars are on a roll.
Cougars went down 3-1 early. They just went on a 3-point run of their own to take their first lead of this set.
Macklin with the reception on that one. Molnar able to get it over. Hoffman with a controlled attack. Fieldhouse swinging. Hoffman pops it up, keeps it alive. Hollebeck crosses. and is going to give the point to the Bulldogs. Hollaback chatting with the official to find out what he did wrong in that, but point for Adrian is going to give Sam Landers the serve. Off the hands of Hoffman. Hoffman hopping to take that reception and then almost pulling back as if he realized he shouldn't do that. And Michael Cardenas trailing right behind him trying to get a touch on it, and unfortunately just a small lapse of judgment from the sophomore.
Yeah, you can tell that Hoffman thought, oh, I need to get this, and then realized, oh, I should not get this.
A great effort from Mosher to keep that ball alive, but Hollaback unfortunately unable to get it over the net, but Mosher coming over, almost diving onto the scorer's table to get that ball back into play.
Yeah, he had to reach over to get it back over to Hollaback, who then, unfortunately for the Cougs, just sent a really hot hit into the net.
Landers serving yet again. Hollaback, Mosher, Hoffman. A one-touch there from Macklin. And a swing from Hollaback is going to get the kill. Tyler Hollaback making things work when they need to.
Hollaback, he's been the main driving Cougar force today. He's got 21 kills. That should go down as number 22. And he is keeping the Cougars in this. Only got a 1-point deficit.
Fieldhouse with that swing for the Bulldogs. Hoffman with this swing for the Cougars, and it finds space for Marcin Hoffman.
Went right off the arm of Bell. Looks like Fieldhouse tried to adjust to get his own arms around to make contact, but unfortunately ended up just kind of swinging at thin air.
Hollaback sends that one into the net right off the top, so another service error for CUC.
And again, service errors are something that CUC has really struggled with. That's going to make it their 15th of the day so far.
Cardenas with the reception. Hoffman with the swing, and off the tip hands of some Bulldogs, the Cougars are going to get the points and put Marcin Hoffman back to serve.
Great play by Hoffman to just locate that the Bulldog players didn't have the right angle to send it straight off their arms.
Macklin with that reception changed his strategy a little bit. Mosher, Hoffman with a tip. And they're going to call Hoffman with the error.
And it was a well-placed ball, but unfortunately, the error is going to cost the Cougs a point there. As instead of them going up 8-7, now the Bulldogs are going up 8-7.
That's going to bring Carson Bell to serve for the Bulldogs here. Drops that one shallow. Hollaback able to get it. Stella with the swing. Fieldhouse keeping it alive, and a monster swing from Molnar. And the Bulldogs have a bit of momentum here on their side.
That was just a great missile by Molnar to the far side corner. Hoffman reached for it, but unfortunately couldn't get to it in time. And Adrian hoping to pull away a little bit with this serve.
That one tips off the net, almost was an error, and instead rolled over. Gato couldn't quite get there in time, so Coach Manos is going to take a timeout to reset his team a little bit, slow things down after the Bulldogs jump out to a 10-7 lead. So during this little break, we're going to take a break as well here on the Cougar Sports Network. back here on the Cougar Sports Network. Bulldogs leading the Cougars 10-7 here in set 4. Bell serving there for Adrian. Stella with the swing. Bell able to keep it alive now. The swing for Molnar. Finds some space into the back. Catches Hoffman standing a little still. And the Bulldogs continue to go on a roll.
Yeah, they saw that Hoffman was a little bit static on the back line, so they just sent it right back at him to go on a 4-0 scoring run.
A rocket of a serve caught Gato a little off guard. Bounced off of him, and a service ace for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I do not think Gato thought that serve would be coming straight at him, so he was just not prepared as the Bulldogs giving themselves a 5-point lead here.
Bell sends that one back to the back row again. Hoffman able to get it. Bounces off of a conference banner. Kept alive, and the swing there from Webster. And the Bulldogs extend out even further. We talked about it a little bit in the first set. This is a very similar spot that the Cougars were in. They fell behind by a little bit, and then we saw them shut down. The Cougars bench is a little bit quiet right now, and we're seeing that energy slowly deplete as that Bulldog lead gets a little bit further. Fortunately for the Cougars, a service error is going to give them the ball and hopefully give them the opportunity to swing things back around.
Yeah, you know they'll take the free point, but they got to get themselves locked in and not do errors like the one we just saw there.
Absolutely. And Cougars' frustration's growing a little bit as the Bulldogs extend out a little bit further, but needing to regroup and resettle as the Bulldogs are riding this momentum here in set 4. As a service ace for Mulia Gatelli is going to extend out even further. That ball dropped right by Hoffman. Just didn't have much of a reaction time with it.
Yeah, it looked like Hoffman thought Hollebeck was going to get it. It looked like Hollebeck thought Hoffman was going to get it. And in the end, no one got it.
Mulia Gatelli sends that one out of bounds, and Cougars have an opportunity to capitalize off of the error here.
Yeah, down 6. They're hoping that with this possession here, they're able to start building some momentum of their own and get themselves back in this. They're only down 6, and there's still a lot of volleyball left to play, but they got to get out of their own heads.
Absolutely, as this one is up and at an awkward angle there for Molnar, but kept alive. And a massive swing from Sam Landers catches the leg of Mosher, and the Bulldogs continue to steal the energy inside Geisman Gymnasium.
That was a great shot at Mosher. Mosher, who really couldn't do anything. If he pulled his leg back, it would have landed in, and if it hit his leg, it was just going to go straight out.
Zach Molnar now serving for the Bulldogs. Bulldogs leading the Cougars 16-9 here. Stella with a swing. And the swing now from Landers. Back row to Hoffman, kept alive. Gudzowski, little mistimed jump there, but able to send it over. Bulldogs answering a tip back from Gudzowski, and another tip at the net from Leon Gudzowski is going to secure the CUC point. The Bulldogs were really trying to capitalize on Gudzowski jumping so much at the net. They were trying to time that so that his jumps weren't in sync with their hits, and Gudzowski did a great job of staying on top of that, and a soft, what looked like a potentially one-finger tip actually dropped that ball straight down.
Yeah, Gudzowski was working overtime there to just keep the ball on the Adrian's side of the net.
Mosher here to Hoffman, finds some space, but Macklin keeps it alive, and Mulia Gatelli looks to do a little skip set attack there, and instead falls right into the net. So the Cougars starting to pick some of that momentum back up.
Only a 5-point lead now for Adrian. Cougars hoping they can get some momentum.
Stella serves that one to the back row. Over for the Bulldogs, and off the reception. Looked like it might have stayed in bounds. Molnar was chasing it like he didn't know, but the rocket of a hit bounces right off of Van Gato again and out of bounds. So now serving for Adrian is Nathan Webster.
That was very much just a reactionary shot by Gato, and as a result, he wasn't able to really angle it to try to keep it in.
Gato once again with a missed touch on his first reception, and Coach Manos is going to take a timeout to reset, looking to get things going a little bit. Cougars really seeing a lot of errors kind of plaguing their ways this set. We talked about it pretty much all day that limiting those errors is going to be key, but consistent reception errors is not what we've been used to so far today. We've seen a lot of service errors, we've seen a lot of attack errors, but we haven't seen a lot of reception errors. And the powerful swings from the Bulldogs here in set 4 is really kind of coming to life, and it's putting that pressure on the Cougars to actually receive that ball well.
Yeah, the Cougars have been playing pretty clean volleyball when it comes to receiving, but as you said, Adrian just hitting some power shots at the Cougs, and as a result, the Cougar players just aren't able to receive them cleanly, and as a result, they're going out of bounds or backwards or into the net or anywhere but where the Cougar players want them to go.
Absolutely. So the last time out of the set for Coach Manos and the Cougar squad, so looking to really capitalize on this reset here as they trail 18-11 in set 4. The Cougars lead overall 2-1, but looking to come back here in set 4, hopefully pull that victory. Bulldogs fighting for their lives here. They're hoping to keep this game and extend it out to a 5th set, and they're really putting in the work to show that they mean business here.
Yeah, Adrian has said, we're backed into the corner. We're going to fight with everything we have to keep our team alive.
Mosher over to Hollaback. Hollaback with a massive swing. Cougars looking for a touch on it, and they're going to say no touch. Point for the Bulldogs.
Hollaback pleaded his case to both refs, but unfortunately both refs did not agree with him.
Coach Manos doing a really good job of grounding his team, telling them, hey, you know what, we're going to keep fighting through and we're going to win the next point. And sure enough, Tyler Hollaback with that swing wins the next point.
Won the next point off a tip by Adrian, so everything ends up equaling out as Adrian still got a 7-point lead as the Cougars trying to claw their way back into this set.
Arif serving here for CUC. This ball is up with a massive swing for Fieldhouse, kept alive. Hoffman now swinging back. Another tip there from Fieldhouse, kept alive by Arif. Hollaback with a shallow tip. Now the swing once again from Fieldhouse. They're going to say was tipped by the Cougars and give the points to the Bulldogs. Cougars incredibly unhappy with it, but Coach Manos getting off the bench to talk to his team, settle things down a little bit, but the Bulldogs lead at 20-12 here in set 4.
Yeah, the Cougars want to try to come back in this set. It's got to start here, and they got to just go 1 point at a time.
Hoffman with the swing there, kept alive. Hoffman once again. Ford kept it alive off the block, a one-touch over, somehow keeping it in play. Mosher, they're going to say that Ford was in the net. Excuse me, Hoffman was in the net, I believe.
Yeah, and Hoffman, a little bit incredulous that one. Doesn't think he was in, but nevertheless, Adrian possession, only needing 4 points to tie it 2-2.
Mosher now sends it over to Hollaback. Hollaback with a big swing off the ceiling. Macklin able to keep it alive, and a free ball from the Bulldogs. Cardenas over to Mosher, and a big swing from Ford off the ceiling once again. A little bit of miscommunication, but the Bulldogs are going to send that back over. Mosher with the swing from Hollaback, and Tyler Hollaback knows how to get business done. Signed, sealed, and delivered from Tyler Hollaback. Cougars needing to go on a bit of a run here, and jump-starting with the hands from Hollaback is a great way to do so.
Bulldogs were able to play a couple shots off the ceiling, and so Hollaback said, all right, this one's not getting close.
A great response, and Cougars looking to fight here. The swing from Hoffman finds its way down. Marcin Hoffman entering the chat.
He said, hey, Hollaback can hit a big shot to close the gap. I can hit a big shot to close the gap, and the Cougars slowly but surely making progress.
As that ball drops into the back corner from Tyler Hollaback, and the Bulldogs are not happy with the momentum the Cougars have right now, taking a timeout. So While these two teams take a break, we're going to take one as well, but don't go anywhere. The Cougs are on the climb here on the Cougar Sports Network. Back here on the Cougar Sports Network after a timeout from the Bulldogs to try to slow the Cougars down, and CUC coming out hot. Hoffman with a swing. Bounces off the net and into the court, so the Bulldogs jumping out to a 22-15 lead here in set 4.
They're coming quick out of the timeout to cut off the Cougar momentum, make it so that they can't get back into this game.
Mosher over to Hoffman looking for the tip, and they're not going to give the tip to the Cougars, and Hoffman's a little fired up about it. The Cougars have had some hard times winning what they think should be a tipped ball, and it seems to be beating them down a little bit, having a hard time kind of overcoming those calls.
Yeah, mentally they think they're getting the shots, but then it's just not translating to the points.
As a huge big-time block there from Bell, and Mulia Gatelli makes this a 24-15 points game.
Adrian just needing one more point here to tie it up 2-2 and give themselves a lot of momentum heading into set number 5.
Hoffman, Mosher over to Hollebeck. Macklin keeps that alive, sends it back over to Molnar. The tip over off the hands of Hollebeck, and this thing's going to go to set 5 after the Bulldogs fought their way through to stay alive.
They had their back against the wall down 2-1, but they turned it up. This was the first set that's been won by more than 5, and the Bulldogs won it by 10, and we head into a set 5 where everything is on the line. Whichever team wins it, wins the day.
Absolutely. So these two teams, looks like CUC did win the coin toss, which means they are going to serve first here in set 5. But we've got a nail-biter on our hands, a do-or-die set 5 coming up here. Don't go anywhere as we get prepared for this in about 2.5 minutes here on the Cougar Sports Network. Back here on the Cougar Sports Network for some Set 5 action. I'm Kayla McLeod, joined by Eric Perry, and it has been a fun day today.
Oh, it has been. First 3 sets were super close. Adrian pulled away in set 4 to tie it up 2-2, and we get a full 5 sets of volleyball today. What more can you ask for?
Exactly. The Cougars almost entirely got shut down there in set number 4 after nothing matters anymore, J.R. Stella says. He says what's in the past is in the past. We're starting this out on a new foot. And the Cougars take the point 1 in set 5 with some vengeance.
Stella said this set's all that matters. We're going to get off to a fiery start.
Ford sends that one a little astray.
A little bit too much of a fiery start there.
But as I was saying, Cougars a bit shut down there in set 4, had their lowest attack percentage of the day so far, essentially, struggling to get things going, and the Bulldogs really capitalized on it.
That one bounced off the feet of the line judge, who I thought was out, but guess not.
Coach Manos really settling his team down a little bit. The players all game have not been happy with some of the calls that have been made, but Coach Manos doing a really good job at balancing and centering his team. And the point's going to go to the Cougars on that one. And Eli Mosher now set to serve for CUC.
Hoping to give CUC the lead again.
This one is up for Molnar. Kept alive here by CUC. Hollaback with a light touch. Molnar from the back row keeping it alive. The swing from Fieldhouse. Mosher. Gato. Stella with a swing. And that one drops in the back corner for J.R. Stella.
Beautiful shot by Stella, just find that corner. Molnar pulled back, thought it was going out. Instead, it just landed perfectly in, and Cougars got the lead back.
Mosher sends that one shallow. The swing here for Fieldhouse. Going to drop on Cougar territory and tie things up at 3 apiece.
These two teams just trading points early. Neither team has really been able to go on a run, and the first team to do might be able to pull away and win this set and the match as a whole.
Webster sends that one in. Mosher pops it up. Hollaback from the back row sends it deep. Kept alive here. And the easy touch there for Carson Bell. Had the time and the swat and found some space to place that ball.
Yeah, Bell saw the area where there were no Cougars, and so he just placed it just out of the reach of Elijah Mosher.
Webster serving here. Hollaback. And easy up and in for Bell once again. A tough reception from Hollaback sends that ball up and high at the net, and Bell is going to take advantage of that time and time again.
You can tell Hollaback did not mean for that one to go over. He was just trying to set it up for his teammate, but he just put a little too much behind it, and Carson Bell was able to capitalize and just send a heat seeker into the Concordia side.
Absolutely. So Coach Manos forced to take an early timeout here in set 1 as back-to-back monstrous kills for Bell rattle the Cougars a little bit, but Bulldogs feeling good knowing that they've got a little bit of control here in set 5. If there's any set that you want to control, realistically it is set 5 in that do-or-die time, and the Bulldogs have really come out into this set with some fire.
Yeah, when it gets to set 5, it's really, the score is back to 0. It's this one counts for everything. So as long as you can lock in here and get the control and the shots to go your way, you can just get that one set that matters most.
So fresh out of the timeout, Cougars looking to reset a little bit and keep themselves in this. Webster still serving here for for Adrian. So looking to keep things and this hot streak alive. Hollaback takes that one once again with a little bit more control. The swing kept alive once again. Mosher finds his way in. Hollaback with another swing. Drops that one right along the line. Webster over to Landers. The swing kept alive by Hollaback's foot, and a wild ball over from Mosher, kept alive there by Molnar. The swing and block kept alive. Bell pops it up. Landers with a tap. The Cougars able to block it, but keeping it alive once again. Bell sends a free ball over. Hoffman with the reception. Mosher, Stella with the swing, and the block goes wild, and the Cougars take the point in a monster fashion. Some wild back and forth there. But ultimately, the Cougars come away with it.
That was just pure chaos straight at that timeout. One of the shots went off Hollaback's hand, off his foot. Just lucky for him, he was able to kick his foot up and keep it in play. And after it bounced around a lot, ended up being a Cougar point, as the coach for Adrian has some words with the referee on our side.
Yeah, head coach for the Bulldogs, Jose Soto, unhappy with one of the touches from the Cougars, is questioning it. So he sent his captain in Beck Fieldhouse over to discuss it with the head official to get an explanation and discuss the touch itself.
I think they're probably debating that the Hollaback hit was 2 hits. It was off his hand, off his foot, but as he's relaying the message to the head official.
It does appear that way, as you can see them motioning for both two things, but the head official explaining back and still gesturing to J.R. Stella, so it looks as though that's going to stay with the Cougars. Stella now to serve, trailing by 1 here in set 5. Received up. The swing kept alive by the Cougars. The Cougars started celebrating too early. Cougars celebrating and not playing through, and the Bulldogs with the ball in the air take the swing. The near side official is calling something else and wants to discuss with the head official. So a lot of miscommunication here onto what's actually happening. In the moment, the Cougars thought that the swing from the Bulldogs was dead, and the Bulldogs continued to play. The Cougars got a little frazzled, and ultimately the Bulldogs were able to put the hammer down and score that point. But seeing what the actual conversation is, as Coach Manos is up from the bench as well, intrigued.
Yeah, right when the near side judge went over to talk to the main ref, Beck Fieldhouse, for Adrian, went over to say something, and she just dismissed him right away to have a private conversation, as now the other two refs are coming over so they can all talk it out.
Absolutely. So trying to figure out what everybody saw in that sequence of events. It was a bit chaotic, but being able to see what happens, and ultimately they're going to call the point in favor of CUC.
And given the way that Adrian's not really arguing that one, I think you get the impression that they know that the ref ended up making the correct call in the end.
So Stella here to serve, sends it to the back row. Fieldhouse with the swing. Cougars able to block it at the net, but sends it far out. And the Bulldogs take the 6-5 lead here.
So both teams once again trading points at the start of set number 5. Neither team really going on a run to build momentum yet.
Hoffman, Mosher over to Hollaback. Hollaback has it blocked, kept alive by Gato, into the stands. Hoffman keeps it in play. Mosher's able to send that ball gently over. Bulldogs have a chance to respond with a huge hit, kept alive and inbounds. Bell sends it deep and looking to catch that back corner, but with a little bit too much power. That's going to be a CUC point.
That was a great series of events by Gato and then by Hoffman to just run over there and keep the ball from hitting the stands and keep it alive, so that in the end, Adrian not able to get the point and tie this game back up for the Cougs.
A Reef to serve for CUC. This one is over for Landers. Hollaback gets it, but they're going to call an error on the Bulldogs, and the point goes to the Cougars, who take the 7-6 lead here.
Quick 2-point swing for the Cougars, hoping they can keep building this momentum that they've got going.
As this ball hits the top of the net and falls on the wrong side and ties things back up with the point for the Bulldogs.
Again, neither team able to build momentum, and you kind of get the feeling that the first team that can go on a little bit of a sustained run might be the team that ends up winning this set.
The serve here from Fieldhouse. Cardenas, Mosher, Hollebeck, kept alive by Gato. They're going to call 4 hits on the Cougars. A bit of a delayed call. And we're going to see the teams switch sides here as we are just past the halfway point in set 5. A little bit of a delayed call, but the Cougars, like you mentioned earlier, not really arguing it, must know that that was probably the right call to be made. So switching things up for the final half of this set. It's going to be Bulldogs serve. Fieldhouse getting things ready.
Bulldogs hoping that the left side of the court gives them the advantage, and the Cougars hoping the right side gives them the advantage.
Mosher, Hoffman with a huge swing, and it's going to catch the arm of Landers. I believe it was also going in anyway, but a huge equalizing swing there from Marcin Hoffman.
Yeah, I don't think it would have really mattered either way. Landers trying to pull back, but even if he had, it would have landed, I think, pretty comfortably inbounds.
Molnar with the swing. Gato keeps it alive. Hoffman takes a couple steps back to be able to take that swing. Bell with the swing. Blocked at the net, but kept alive by the Cougars. Hoffman now sends it to the back row. Pops this up. Molnar with the swing. Hollebeck. Mosher. Forward with the tip. Kept alive there by Macklin and sent over by Mulia. And the Cougars are able to drop that one down. A monster back and forth and a fantastic series of events in favor of the Cougars.
Adrian tried to surprise him with a quick hit, and the Cougars sent another quick hit right back at him, and Landers and Macklin both dove for it, but neither one was able to get it.
Hollebeck with that serve. Molnar with the swing, kept alive by Cardenas. A one-punch over from Mosher is going to drop just out of bounds and tie this thing up at 9 apiece. Neither team seem to be backing down in any way, shape, or form, going point for point here, and these are some intense points. We're not seeing a lot of errors here when push comes to shove. We are seeing some really good back-and-forth volleyball.
We are seeing some quality volleyball here in set number 5.
Forward with the big swing, kept alive by Landers. Fieldhouse sends it over. Ford with a monster swing, tipped, and the point goes to the Cougars. Alexander Ford showing what he can do.
This young core of the Cougars is really coming in big in the key moments here as they give themselves back the lead and hoping that they can continue to build some momentum and increase their lead to 2 here.
Hoffman sends that one in. The attack for Webster is good. Finds the shallow corner here and ties things up at 10 apiece.
Yeah, Cougars were not expecting that kind of hit from the Bulldogs, and Bulldogs able to take advantage and tie it once again back up.
Gato, Mosher, over to Ford. Ford with the soft touch this time. Landers keeps it alive. The swing from Fieldhouse off of Hollebeck. Chasing it is both Hoffman and Gato, but nobody quite gets there. And Adrian has taken the 11-10 lead here in set 5.
Both Gato and Hoffman were racing in that far back corner for it, but unfortunately it was just a little too far for either of them to reach.
The serve from Mulia Gatelli, a bit too strong, sends it straight out of the back of the court. Ties things up here in set 5 at 11. Alexander Ford to serve for the Cougars.
Neither team is giving an inch here. When one team scores, the other team answers.
As a service error for Ford is going to give the Bulldogs a lead. Cougars been pretty good this set at limiting their errors, but service errors still seem to be a problem. As Molnar now set to serve for the Bulldogs. Sends a rocket to the back row. Hoffman with the reception. Stella with the swing and a big-time block from Landers and Webster. Keeps momentum with the Bulldogs. And that's going to force a timeout for the Cougars. Bulldogs inching closer and closer to a comeback victory, and the Cougars doing everything they can to come back as well. So we've got a minute timeout here, so we're going to take a quick break here on the Cougar Sports Network, but don't go anywhere as this continues to be a tight race battle on the Cougar Sports Network. Back here on the Cougar Sports Network, Adrian leads CUC 13-11 here in set 5. We've seen two teams going back and forth and neither willing to back down. As Adrian has the serve here, Molnar putting it up. Hollaback receives it well. Mosher back to Hollaback off of the palm. And batting up and around, but ultimately getting it down. And Mosher with a monster kill to send it all the way to the back row off of a free ball.
Just an incredible shot by Mosher. Adrian was trying to collect themselves, and Mosher was all too happy to just take advantage and send it to the back line.
Mosher then serving. A big swing from Fieldhouse kept alive by the Cougars. Hollaback now on the opposite side. He finds space and he drops it in to tie this thing up at 13 apiece. And the Bulldogs are going to take a timeout. Eric, we mentioned it. Neither team is backing down. They're going back and forth, and this is a game of runs. The Bulldogs just went on a big run that forced the Cougars to take a timeout. Cougars dug themselves out of that hole and now forced the Bulldogs to take a timeout. This game of runs is built on energy, and the Cougars are feeling the energy right now.
Oh, yeah. Every time it seems like, ooh, this team's got it, and they're about to pull it. The other team's like, nope, we got it. We're going to pull it. As you said, just trading timeouts. There is the Cougars with all the momentum, hoping that they can close out strong and pick up the home win. And, yeah, just been an exciting game, back and forth. Neither team giving it an inch. They're making the other team fight for every single point tonight. And, exciting volleyball.
Absolutely. Looking at the Cougars' overall numbers, you know, they've attacked 171 times this game. So that is a monstrous amount. They've collected 56 total kills. You know, they're swinging, and they're swinging hard, and we're seeing that. But on the flip side, Adrian, 146 total attacks and 47 kills. They're trailing right there behind them. And, I mean, this game of back and forth is really going to come down to the wire as we sit at 13 apiece, and the Cougars have the serve. Mosher drops it to the back row. Macklin receives it well. The swing for Molnar sends it to the back row, and it's out! Eli Mosher jumped to potentially get a hand on it, eventually pulled his hand down, and it served for the better because it was a long shot ball, and Mosher now serving for match point. One away from victory. Macklin with the reception, pops it up. The big swing and a block from Tyler Hollaback and Leon Gazowski, and that's going to do it. That's how the Cougars write their victory in set 5. A big-time block to end the game, and the Cougars are able to pull it off. A major game of runs, and the Cougars ultimately run away with it.
Yeah, Bulldogs, they were up 13-11. They only needed 2 more points. Coach Manos called the timeout and said, okay, we're locking in. We're just going to score 4 powerful shots to call it a day and give ourselves a win. They did it in emphatic fashion. Might have been set forward and go their way, so they turned around and said, all right, lock in. Nothing else matters. Close it out here when it counts, and they certainly did that.
A really good testament to this team and the coaching staff, because we said it multiple times throughout the broadcast today that this team was getting frustrated by a lot of things. We were seeing a lot of errors. We were seeing a lot of frustrations with the officiating, and Coach Manos and his staff was able to keep the team grounded and hold them in and make sure that they stayed locked in from start to finish. And this team responded to that. Every time they hung their heads a little bit, they were able to kind of build it back up and continue that game of runs. And ultimately, it worked in their favor.
Yeah, and set 1 and 4, and then especially in 4, you could tell that they were kind of just out of it a little bit. They were arguing with some of the calls that the refs were making, but then in set 5, they were able to settle down. They were able to all get on the same page and not make errors and allow themselves to, at the end of the day, get the 15-13 set 5 win to win the day 3-2.
Absolutely. Well, after a thrilling 5-set victory, a fairy tale ending on the Cougar Sports Network, we don't want you guys to go anywhere because we are going to have a post-game interview, so stick around here as we get ready for that. But a big-time win for a big-time team, but we're going to get set for a post-game interview. Don't go anywhere here on the Cougar Sports Network. Joined by Van Gato, the libero of this winning CUC team here after a 5-set thriller against Adrian College. You know, you guys came into today, you guys were on a bit of a losing streak. You lost a really tough match against Calvin on Thursday, a really tight match that you guys just let slip through your fingers a little bit. You know, Adrian was coming in, they were on a losing streak as well. So this was 2 really competitive teams looking for a win, and it took it to 5 sets. You guys had a lot of good runs, and you guys had a lot of dry spells. So talk to me a little bit about what it was looking like as a team to be able to pull your guys' selves out of those little dry spells.
We talk a lot about in practice, in our huddles, even after practices and after games, like what truly our identity is. We're a young team. We do have Tyler, who came back, who's a graduate student, and then Eli and me are the only juniors. We're super young. We're coming out here and we're fighting every game, and then we just get tense towards the end. But we finally found a rhythm, finally found what our identity would be this season, and we were the ones that we're going to change it. If we're going to get tight, we're going to stay in this game no matter what happens, and we're just going to uplift each other.
Absolutely. So, rewinding a little bit to your guys' game against Calvin, you guys were having some trouble getting into a rhythm with your hitting and being able to find spots. Today, you guys, from the jump, you guys were placing those balls in really well spots. You guys were finding where you should be swinging with full power, where you guys should be tipping. What was that adjustment like from a short turnaround from Thursday to today to make those adjustments and be able to see that?
We just want to be aggressive, but we also want to know when we shouldn't make an unforced error, when we should tip, when we should roll, when we should aim for the donut for a team. We spend time scouting and learning the other teams, and when we're calling shots, like me in the back row, and I call it for our front row hitters, we're trying to get as much court space as possible for them, but also smart too. And when Eli today had 133 assists, just really finding, not 133 assists, 133 attempts and 46 assists, just finding that connection. We were trying to find that, and we did it. We just worked on it and consistency, and we got it.
Absolutely. And for yourself as a libero, you're seeing a lot from the back of the court. And you mentioned having Tyler as that leadership on your team, as you, Eli, and Tyler are the oldest on the team. What is it like as a libero to know that you've got a senior hitter that can see what needs to be done and hear what you're saying from the back row, and you know that you're going to be able to get that kill?
When I'm setting him, he's my first option in out-assist stuff. But just dishing it, calling it, he is a very smart hitter. When he was here, he was leading the conference, and when he came back, and he just had an outstanding game. He finds that court space. And you give him a little bit of information, and he'll find it even better than what you just told them. So just giving him those spots, giving those opportunities, and just letting him find his rhythm and find those spots.
Absolutely. Well, CUC men's volleyball, a big-time 5-set win here inside Geisman. The energy was great, the environment was awesome, and a really good hometown showing today. But that's all we've got for today's broadcast. Once again, I'm Kayla McLeod, joined here by Van Gato for the post-game interview. For all things CUC men's volleyball, be sure to check out our website at cucougars.com, as well as our YouTube page at CUC Sports to catch up on everything that you've missed. But until then, signing off for today, I'm Kayla McLeod. Go Cougars.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's Concordia University Chicago Cougars Athletics broadcast. We hope to see you on campus very soon. If you would like to learn more about what Concordia Chicago has to offer, go to cuchicago.edu.